Welcome to Frank Stajano Explains. Today's topic is Welcome to Cambridge for freshers who have just started their tripos. Every director of studies has a chat similar to this one with their new students when they join the college. I had one with my own new students recently when they joined, but I might as well share this message with freshers from other colleges and even in other subjects. You probably already figured out most of this by now, but maybe a second pass from someone else in different words will let you catch something you missed at first. And in any case, one more friendly welcome to Cambridge will do you no harm after everything you went through to get here. So first of all, congratulations. You have been admitted, which means you are great, which means several of us thought you were great and we needed to ensure there was a place for you here. We wanted you. We believe in you. You are great. Well done. You are here now at last. That's great. Now, this, as you know, is one of the best universities in the world. By any conceivable metrics, it's always consistently in the top 5. From time to time, it's at number 1. You will be graduating from an 800-year-old university that has left its mark on the centuries in every subject. You are walking in history as you're here in Cambridge. You have earned this privilege. Be proud of it and enjoy everything that goes with it. Now, we said you're great, and if you're here, it's probably the case that you were the best kid in your school, where it is that you went to school. Excellent. Now, guess what? Everyone else we admitted also was. And so everyone else you find in the lecture theatre sitting next to you from the other 30 colleges was also the best kid at their school. So now it's likely that you will not be the smartest kid in the class, unlike what happened to you up to now. And if up to now studying was easy and the stuff that the other pupils were struggling with you could breeze through in 30 minutes, well, maybe here in some courses you're going to struggle to keep up. Maybe you see people around you going through things like knife through butter, and for you it's really difficult, and maybe you'll panic. Well, don't panic. It's okay. It's meant to be like that. Don't worry about, oh, I don't fit in here. Maybe they made a mistake when they admitted me. We didn't make a mistake. We believe in you. We see where you are. And it's actually good for you to have things that are difficult, even if so far everything was easy. The fact that now some things are difficult means you are stretching yourself. You are learning to your full potential. If everything was easy, it means you never did as much as you could do. Well, here we push you to do things that go to the edge, to the limits of what you can do, because we see your potential. We saw your potential when we admitted you. You are in the best school for gifted children there is on earth. So the colleges and the departments, it's something that you must have figured out by now. It's like a matrix where there's colleges and departments, and in every college there are students who go to basically all departments. In every department there are students who come from all the possible colleges. You know all this. I made a video about this a while ago. You're free to have another look. But what you should notice is that since you don't have a base for comparison, you never went to another university, appreciate how great that is compared to other universities, to most other universities, like where I went to when I was an undergraduate, which was not Cambridge. I was an engineer. All I met was other engineers. Here, you meet people who are doing your subject, computer science if you're my student, in the morning when you go to lectures. But when you go back to your college for lunch, you get to sit next to people who are doing other subjects. You get to socialize with people from other walks of life. All of them super clever like you are, but doing things that you don't have the faintest clue about. This opens up your brain to the fact that there are more things than just the subject you are becoming an expert in. And it's really eye-opening. And do engage with those other people. It is really a beneficial feature of this system. Another special thing about Cambridge, which is not common in other places, is the supervision system. Well, that too is something that you must have started to figure out and experience firsthand. I mean, by the time this video is out, you will have had your first few supervisions. That is one of the things that makes Cambridge so great, because you get personal tuition. You get paired up with someone who's just as smart as you, but we will use the supervision to challenge you to do stuff that is hard for you, stuff that's a little harder than what you can do right now, but not so hard that you can't get there by stretching yourself a little bit. It's impossible to do that in a lecture setting. If I'm lecturing a class of over 100 people, I can't do something that stretches everyone, because there are different places in the spectrum, and what stretches one is too easy for one and completely too hard for another. But the fact that you have the supervisions in the afternoon means some expert can tailor the amount of stretching to what your mental muscles can bear, and make you work out at the level that is appropriate for you at that stage, and bring you to the next step and the next step and the next step. And so go to the supervision realizing what privilege it is to be part of this very custom-tailored system. Go to supervision having worked hard on the problems that your supervisor has set before the supervision, but also realizing that this is a chance for you to ask the questions that you wanted to ask in the lecture, but there's no chance, no time to ask a question during the lecture. So in the supervision, if something that was assigned for you, you couldn't quite get there, or you had doubts, you can ask about it, and the supervisor will help you figure out the answer. Similarly, for stuff that went on during the lecture you didn't quite get, you can ask your supervisor. And sometimes some stuff that the lecturer didn't even mention, but what the lecturer said made you have an idea, you can discuss that idea with your supervisor and with your supervision partner. Sometimes you'll come up with stuff that the supervisor had never thought of. I mean, it happens to me all the time. Nice thing about teaching in Cambridge is that I teach students who are sometimes much more clever than I am. And they come up with intelligent, challenging questions that I don't know about, and I have to think and maybe say, well, I can't figure it out right now, but let me go back and think some more, and we'll discuss it again next time after I've done a bit of reading, or after I've spoken with some other colleagues. And that's challenging, and that's interesting, and that's unique to hear. So make the most of that. How does the system work in terms of the academic year and the exams? Well, there are exams at the end of every year, but interestingly, almost nobody fails these exams. So again, where I went to university, it was very easy to get in. Basically, there was no admissions exam. Anybody could start the course, and in my year there might have been of the order of 1,000, maybe a few more, 1,000 students doing the engineering course in the first year. Now, by the end of the first year, when we started the second year, there were only about half of them who were still on, because the others had found it was just too hard for them. They had failed the first year exams and all that kind of stuff. So this doesn't happen here. It's really difficult to get into Cambridge, but once you get in, most people get out after the end of their tripos with a Cambridge degree. It's not the case that once you get in, you can just sleep in a hammock and you will get a degree for free. Not at all. You will have to work very, very hard for it. But we know you can do it. Otherwise, we wouldn't have picked you. We would have used that place for someone else if we had thought you were not capable of doing it. And so we believe in you. And if you struggle at any point, we will support you. We will do our best with the supervision system, for example, with other resources that are around. Your college has a personal interest in you succeeding, and allocates many people to look after you, starting from your director of studies in college, your college tutor, and a variety of other people that you will have heard about by them. Now, get familiar with them, get to know them, and rely on them. And if you ever need, they will be there. They will have your back. They are on your side. We all want you to do well, and we want you to enjoy being here. It shouldn't be a struggle. It should be something that you're not only proud of the end result, but you actually enjoy the process. Talking of the end result of the exams at the end of the year and at the end of the whole tripos is some marks. So you get marks in the exam. And it is easy for these marks to become all important. Well, they are not all important. Okay, they are somewhat important. It is true that a good mark will open some doors in some context. But while you're here, you should optimize for getting a good education out of the Cambridge system. You should optimize for becoming knowledgeable and competent in your subject. You should optimize for getting the most of this incredible learning environment and these special people that you get to meet here. You should not optimize for getting good at solving exam questions. This is a narrow-minded and short-term goal that will not serve you very well. Getting good at solving exam questions, like tricks. No. Have a longer-term view of the 3 years you're investing now and get something out of them that will help you for the next 40 years. The terms in Cambridge are very short compared to elsewhere. Only 8 weeks for one term. Okay, and this means our courses are very high density. You get to do only where 8 weeks of lecture finishes a course. Stuff that in other places might take 6 months or even 9 months. And the courses here can be very high density because, first of all, because we selected you to be all very good. So we can throw lots of hard stuff at you, and we know you can cope. And also by the supervision systems we were talking about earlier. We know that if you find something a bit difficult, we have ways of bringing you up to speed and let you keep pace with the fast progression of the high-density course. Then in between those intense 8-week terms, there are vacations. Okay, there's one vacation at Christmas, there's one vacation at Easter, and then there's a long vacation over the summer. Now, vacation is a name that suggests like it's a holiday. So you do 8 weeks of hard work and then holiday for 1.5 months or 3 months or whatever it is. No, that's not how it works. Vacation is not holiday. Vacation is time where you also work very hard, except you're not in Cambridge, you're back home, and you don't have lectures and you don't have supervisions. So the vacation is a time where you can study without all these interruptions. I mean, from some viewpoint, they are interruptions. If you have to concentrate very hard on developing a large piece of software code, then you want to have those uninterrupted days where you hammer out at it and you keep this develop and try and debug and so on, and you do want to be uninterrupted for days on end. You can do that in the vacation. You can't do that as easily during term time. Or if you're writing an essay, if you're writing a chapter of a book, that kind of stuff, vacation is good for that. It is time where you can manage the time yourself instead of being paced by all the various events that happen during full term. It is not holiday. But even though it is not holiday, have some real holiday during the vacation. If the vacation is 1.5 months, have at least 1 week. If your work is going particularly well, then have maybe 2 weeks of real holiday where you don't do any work, because we need you to have time off so that you come back refreshed for the next intense term that follows after the vacation. Another thing you should do is to have fun. That's important. That's a requirement. Just as important as working hard. You must work hard, play hard, do some extracurricular activity that you enjoy doing. Don't do it because I told you to do it, because you want to do it, okay? There's hundreds of student societies, literally hundreds, from anything like archaeology to literature, mathematics, paragliding, music, theater, filmmaking, all kinds of sports things and cultural activities, including the typically Oxbridge activity of rowing, and of course not forgetting a variety of martial arts, including the one I practice, which is the Japanese sword. Imagine that if you pick up and practice kendo while you are in Cambridge, you get to whack your professor on the head. How cool is that? So find what it is that you personally enjoy and set aside some time for doing that as well as your coursework. Don't go overboard with these extras, because there are so many chances that if you said yes to all of them, there'd be no time left to do any work. But do enjoy the incredible opportunity you have here. Try something new that you've never even imagined you could do. And here you can do almost anything. And you also get to bond with other exceptional people, because the people you meet in some student society about X, which is not your subject, will be people from other subjects, and that's where you make very good friends for sharing a common passion on something else that is not your own topic. And also I should say, when I say have fun, I don't just mean have fun outside your coursework by doing an extracurricular activity. I also mean have fun in your actual studies. Enjoy your subject, enjoy what you're doing. Nobody obliged you to come here and study computer science. You chose it, okay? You applied. You asked us, please, can you take me in to study computer science there? Well, you applied. Now do it because that's what you like, not because I'm telling you to do it, okay? Never forget to enjoy what you're doing. That's the best way to become great at what you're doing, if you're doing it because you really like it, okay? And that sets the foundation for being happy in your career, in your work life, okay? After you finish university, you will get some kind of job, and it has to be for your own happiness. It has to be a job you enjoy doing. Ideally, it should be the kind of stuff that if you had all the money in the world, you'd still want to do it just because you like it. If you get a job like that, then you go to work every day with a smile because you're doing the thing you wanted to do anyway. So set the foundation for that by finding what it is that you enjoy in the subject you have chosen to study at university. This Michaelmas, October, start of your first year, is the beginning of 3 crucial years in your life. Whatever else you end up doing later, nobody will be able to take away from you these special 3 years, okay? And some of the friends that you make now will accompany you for the rest of your life. It is really a special period. So enjoy the moment. Don't just think of the time you graduate and then you do something else. Just stop and look around at your life while you're in it, because it's a unique time. Take pictures, write letters, remember this period. As far as the learning that happens during the years of your undergraduate tripos, you will be exposed to plenty of stuff that your lecturers tell you, teach you, explain to you, okay? It's not enough just to hear it and remember it, okay? You must understand it. You must understand it at a very deep level. That, if you close everything and someone asks you about it, you can explain it to them. You can re-synthesize the core idea in a way that you can argue for and say, this is really how this works. You can make someone else understand the stuff. So much more than just remembering it. You must understand it, internalize it. But much more than understanding, you must also be able to put it into practice, okay? Don't just cram the thing you understood into a flashcard style thing that you can use it to repeat it like a parrot at the exam if it comes up in a question. You must instead, when you learn a new idea, go back to your computer and build a working program that puts that idea into practice, makes something work on that basis, that thing that you now understood. The great thing about computing, this empowering thing, is that you can transform the ideas into mechanisms, into things that do something. You can affect the world by implementing your ideas into a program. So do that after every lecture. Once you learn something cool, okay, go and write a program that makes it do something. The stuff you learn is worthless if it just stays in your brain, if you can't actually use it for yourself. You must be able to put that into practice. And that also, pedagogically speaking, is the best way to learn. Because if you not just hear it, not just remember it, not just understand it, but also do something with it, then that's stuff that stays with you forever and you'll never forget. Now, the most important things that you will learn during your undergraduate degree are not really the things we are going to teach you in the lecture courses. They are the meta-level things, the things you learn about the things you learn. So, for example, learning how to learn new things. Now, professionally, a lot of my work is about security on the World Wide Web. Okay, how much of that do I remember from my university days? Well, guess what? I was never taught security on the web when I went to university, because when I was an undergraduate, the World Wide Web hadn't been invented yet. Okay, so I definitely didn't get taught anything about it whatsoever. So what I did learn at university was, how do I study a subject so that I can find out what is relevant, what is not relevant. I can extract the laws that govern how things work. I can learn how to apply these things to new problems and so on and so on. And then I applied this to new things that came up while I was in my professional life, before going back to do a PhD and all the other stuff. So that is not something that I had a lecture course about, but something that I picked up by having to study hard to learn the content of the lecture courses. So, of course, you must learn the actual content of the courses, but eventually what will be useful to you 20 years from now, more than the actual content of those courses, was how to learn new things. Or, for example, another meta-level skill that you're going to have to acquire is how to manage your time when you have gazillions of things that you should do, and there aren't enough hours in the day to do all of them. And you're going to be overwhelmed by the number of things there are to do. And if you are organized and start writing a so-called to-do list of items you need to do, if you had a realistic estimate of how long it takes to do each one of these, you'll find really there aren't enough hours in the day to do all of them. So you have to accept the fact that your to-do list will never be exhausted. You'll never be able to cross everything out of it. And so it becomes very important to figure out which of the things on your to-do list you're going to do. Because if you use all your waking hours to cross things out of your to-do list, but they are the wrong things, you will not go very far. You'd be much better off crossing out fewer things from your to-do list, but the really important ones. So you have to learn that, what it is that you should be prioritizing. Because otherwise, just saying, well, and I've worked solidly from morning to evening, and I kept crossing out things from my to-do list, therefore I must be doing well. No, you may be wasting your time if you cross out things that are basically displacement activities. So learning how to prioritize, arrange your time, and so on and so on is an extremely important meta-level skill, which it will take decades to become proficient at using your time well. But these 3 years of your tripos is a great playground for getting some practice into it. So study the coursework seriously, because even though the content may not be the most important thing at the end, the only way to get at the really important thing, which is the meta-level stuff, is to engage extremely seriously at the basic level. You can't do the meta-level without doing the real level. So to pick up the method, you have to engage earnestly with the actual content. It is very important that you actually do the practical stuff so that you get a chance to practice the meta skills in a realistic setting. Now, my final comment in this welcome message is going to be, look up what the motto of your college is. Every college has a motto, and I'm going to tell you something about the motto of my college, which is Trinity College. Virtus, vera, nobilitas. Does anyone know enough Latin to figure out what this means? Virtus, vera, nobilitas. Virtue is the true nobility. You are great, your nobility, not because you were born into an aristocratic family. That would be the literal sense of nobility. So this is actually the fake nobility, is what this motto is saying. The true nobility is not that. It's not because your parents were rich that you're great. It's not because of the color of your skin. It's not because of any other thing that you were born with. You are great because of your virtue. Your nobility is your virtue. It's the good stuff that you do. It's your achievements, the stuff that depend on your accomplishments. That is what makes you noble and special. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter what you wear. It doesn't matter where you're from. What matters is what you do. This is a great equalizer, and it's incredibly liberating. I find it incredibly liberating to be in a place where all the recognition is based on merit and not on prior privilege. So, once again, welcome to Cambridge. You thought when you got that acceptance letter, the offer letter, that getting into Cambridge, wow, was an exceptional achievement. Well, actually, now that you are here, and this is behind you, you realize this is just the first step. Getting into Cambridge is just the beginning, and the really interesting part of your journey starts now. Like, subscribe, and see you next time.